Michael, I'd like to start the conversation with you. This was a very big team effort, as it often is in high-profile cases like this. I wonder if you might take your expertise as a former prosecutor and kind of break down for us and our audience what exactly the role each of these people plays, the SEC, CFTC, DOJ, FBI, all of them, and how they're going to move forward in this kind of a case.
Well, there's certainly collaboration amongst the regulatory entities, that is the CFTC and the SEC, with the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District. However, the Southern District really takes the lead because they have the access and the ability to use the grand jury, which allows them the opportunity to hold proceedings secretly. In fact, this ultimately was a sealed indictment, and I expect there'll be ongoing portions of the investigation that will remain outside of the public's view. So the CFTC and the SEC play a very important role. However, it's the U.S. Attorney's Office that takes the lead in these types of cases.
Okay, so Kate, it was just in this hour, 24 hours ago, that we were asking you about why Sam Bankman-Fried was appearing virtually in front of what was supposed to be his appearance before the House committee involving the investigation into FTX. And we kind of know why, because we understand that he's going through an extradition process right now in the Bahamas. Can you take us through what the movements have been like so far and what exactly has been said in today's hearings with the current FTX CEO who's in charge of kind of reorganizing everything?
Sure. So we just heard, Dom, from the acting SEC director, essentially that this started last Wednesday. The charges were approved. It's a longer process. Sam Bankman-Fried was eventually arrested last night in the Bahamas. So that was in coordination with U.S. law enforcement. So it makes the idea that he may have been nervous about an arrest if he had come back here on U.S. soil, especially relevant. And that's what we were hearing from legal experts for the reasoning behind a Zoom hearing testimony versus appearing in front of Congress in person, which we did not see today. Sam Bankman-Fried, for obvious reasons, now did not testify. We did hear from John Ray, who is now the CEO of FTX and is in charge of restructuring. He took a very calm, intense tone, really did not parse his words at all. He said that, talked about mismanagement, talked about some of the issues that went on at FTX. And it really did align with what we just heard from those multiple agencies who seem to be working quite closely and coordinating on this effort. We also just heard essentially that they haven't said if they're going to bring charges against anyone else, but they say they're not done. So it was sort of a call to action. If anybody had information, if anybody wanted to go and work with law enforcement, or they said if you were a part of this and you haven't reached out to us yet, make sure you do before we reach out to you. So there was a little bit of a warning shot there and a shot across the bow for those who may be involved and may have not spoken to federal prosecutors yet.
Michael, there are some reports he might fight extradition. What are his odds of success?
His odds of success are absolutely none. He will ultimately be extradited, but the process does allow for delay. It's a process that can take anywhere from 12 months up to 3 years because there are numerous appeals that are built into the extradition procedures that just are rampant with delay. So unless he agrees to be extradited and waives his extradition rights, he's not going to be on U.S. soil for a while.
Michael, we know that he has not waived those rights, so he is going to fight this in court in the Bahamas right now. And so if this really is a 1 to 3 year process, what exactly does that do to the momentum of the investigation? Or does this give law enforcement in the U.S. even more time to build up a very solid case against SBF?
Well, first of all, he can waive his extradition rights at any point, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. But ultimately, slowing down a case like this, where you expect at some point there will be other pleas that will be reached and other people will come forward and be charged, is going to be a benefit for the prosecution.
A benefit for the prosecution. So do you think he'd be a flight risk?
I think any judge is going to look at him as a flight risk, given the fact that there are billions of dollars of assets that are still unaccounted for that could be anywhere in the world. There's really going to be no bond condition absent placing him in custody that's going to assure that he is going to reasonably appear in Manhattan.